Although our name is Lucy's Retired Surfers Bar and Restaurant, there's nothing tired or retired about anything we do. Meet Me at Lucy's has been our slogan and battle cry for nearly 3 decades in New Orleans. Located in the heart of the Warehouse District, Lucy's has truly been the destination spot for nearly every occasion. Whether it's happy hour after work, before and after Saints and Pelicans games, or just a delicious bite to eat at all hours, Lucy's is the perfect place to meet up, hang out, and unwind for a great time. And while you're there, you should try one of our signature surfing cocktails, like the Shark Attack or Blue Whale. And for the truly courageous, our famous Scorpion Tequila Shot. Remember, Meet Me at Lucy's is our slogan, but don't forget to bring your favorite pooch, because our lifeguard chair is always open. Crescent City Steakhouse, a true neighborhood restaurant operated by the Vojkovic family since 1934, is the oldest steakhouse in the city of New Orleans. Serving only hand-cut, prime-aged, corn-fed beef for over 80 years, Crescent City Steakhouse has become a dining destination for both die-hard locals and adventurous travelers who seek traditional, timeless New Orleans cuisine. Crescent City Steakhouse, 1001 North Broad, on the corner of St. Philip, in the heart of New Orleans.
Fall in love with autumn with PJ's new seasonal lattes. Our pumpkin latte brings you all the flavors of a pumpkin pie, with hints of cinnamon and nutmeg, like your favorite holiday dessert in a cup. And our s'mores latte, with flavors of toasted marshmallows, warm milk chocolate, and graham cracker cinnamon, is sure to bring back campfire memories. The PJ's Fall Seasonal Lattes, available at your local PJ's, only for a limited time.
So here's the bottom line. Funny that you say that. Let me tell you. Good evening and welcome to Primetime Sports. Hey, I'm your host, Scott Alexander, but you're my audience. I've got to be honest with you. I've got to shoot you straight. We have a great show for you. But we had to tape it last week, so I don't know what happened in the Saints-Panthers game this past weekend. I don't know what bowl LSU's going to, and I sure as heck don't know how many technical fouls my man Boogie Cousins got over the weekend. But I do know this. I know we have a fantastic show for you. It features a just-retired coaching legend. How about this? Pete Jenkins, 50 years in the business, and 2 other guys that are miracle workers in the college and high school coaching business. Tim Rebowe at Nichols. Man, what a fantastic job he's done. And Ryan Manale at De La Salle, who's playing the state championship against U-High coming up this week. Well, he's the only coach, one of the only coaches in Louisiana football history with 2 straight undefeated seasons. And you throw in Hornets and Pelicans behind-the-scenes legend Lou Shuman. Well, grab your popcorn, South Louisiana, because we got a great show for you. Stay tuned on Primetime Sports, coming right up. Welcome back to Primetime Sports, and I told you this is a very special edition. Hey, I've had several legends on this show, but few equal the guy that I'm about to speak to now. Well, he just retired after a 50-year coaching career. He spent much time down here in the Bayou, at least 15 on 3 different stints. His name is Pete Jenkins, and he officially retired, but he's not really retired yet because he's coaching LSU through the bowl. He's known for coaching defensive linemen, and when I ask coaches, literally, not just across the state of Louisiana, but across the country, guys that I've known in the business for a long time, without hesitation, they said he is the best in the business. And I'm talking on all levels, high school, college, and even the pros. He coached a few years. And I'm going to do a little bit of This Is Your Life. The man was born in Macon, Georgia. You might not know that. He was raised there. He had a coaching career after going to Western Carolina. He went to Warner Robins, and if you know anything about the state of Georgia, that's some real good football at Warner Robins. Columbus, Baker High School. How about Phoenix City High School, right near the border of Georgia and Alabama? Troy State. Hey, LSU fans know about Troy right now. Northern Alabama, South Carolina, Southern Miss, Oklahoma State, Florida Gators. Mississippi State Bulldogs had a nice run with Auburn. It was even with the Eagles and the Rams, but most people know him for his love for LSU. Like I said, over 15 years and 3 different stints. This man coached some of the greatest. Early on, it was Lyman White, Carl Wilson. How about 2 of my favorites of all time, Leonard Marshall and Henry Thomas, both superstars in the NFL as well. And then how about the more recent stint about 15 years ago, guys like Marcus Spears, guys like Marquise Hill, Chad Lavallee, and then this recent bunch headlined by Arden Key, and, of course, one of his favorite projects, Rashard Lawrence. Here he is, the one, the only, Pete Jenkins. Welcome to the show, my friend.
Wow, thank you a lot, Scott.
That was a little bit of This Is Your Life, huh?
Wow, that was a quick 50 years you went through.
And I did it in a minute and a half. Well, Pete.
Yeah, that's good, man. That's good.
You're beloved everywhere. I've made my calls. I mean, this is one of the rare guys that no one possibly can say a negative thing about you. You're hanging up the cleats, but talk about your runs at LSU. I say runs plural because you've been back and forth a few times.
Yeah. Hey, the other thing, let me say this, Scott.
Okay.
One of my goals has been this, to live long enough to outlive my enemies, where I wouldn't have anything left but friends. So maybe that's working now.
It's working. It's working good.
But I really appreciate that, and friendships are something that's very, very important to me, and relationships and friendships and those things. I realize how important football is, but I realize that's the real basis of everything is your family and your friends and everything. So that's important, and I really appreciate what you said. I hope some of it's true.
It's all true, Coach. And I'm going to take you back because, I mean, listen, I know you had some great runs at places like Auburn, Florida, Mississippi State, but we like to claim you as our own down here in the Bayou. I know this is home to you. You have a place in Baton Rouge you'll always have. But when you talk about, you know, the coaches you've had, I mean, talk about all the coaches you've actually coached under, because it's several at LSU.
Yeah, it's just my 5th. Coach O's my 5th head coach at LSU. And, you know, I mean, that covers a lot of years and a lot of coaches. And I've worked for some really outstanding people. I've been very fortunate to do that. You know, it was my dream, Scott, even when I was a high school coach in Alabama or a kid growing up in Georgia. I listened to WWL.
Yeah, 870.
And I caught the Tigers because they were the only game in town on Saturday night at that time. And I grew to be a real Tiger fan. And when I went to the University of South Carolina, I worked for Paul Dietzel, who was, of course, you know, a great head coach here at LSU. God bless him. And on the staff was Jerry Stovall. On the defensive staff with me was Jerry Stovall. So I tell you, it even got me, you know, more enthralled and interested in LSU football. And so, you know, I tell people, and I mean this from the bottom of my heart, you know, I feel so blessed. I wanted to be here one time. I've been here one time. I got a chance to come back twice, and then I got a chance to come back 3 times thanks to Coach O. And I believe this, and I say this, I've said this several times, other than my family, the best thing that ever happened to Pete Jenkins is LSU football. And I really mean that from the bottom of my heart.
I'm looking at, we're showing a couple pictures of you with Coach O at USC. I can't even believe I left that out. USC, you were there with Coach O.
Yes.
You two have a special relationship. You're both defensive line guys, and that's your bread and butter. But talk about your relationship with Coach.
Well, you know, I know him for a long time, Scott. You know, I could have almost coached him at LSU. You know, he came here year before I got here, and he transferred to Northwestern. But I could have very easily coached him at LSU, but I've known him a long time. And I just think he's, you know, he's got kind of a rough exterior, and you hear him talk and everything, but trust me, he's got a heart of gold. He is as good a person as you'll ever. I mean, generous and kind. Actually, I think he's a typical South Louisiana guy. He likes to feed you. He likes to see you happy, and he's a very loyal friend. And that's kind of the way I feel about the people in South Louisiana. I've always felt like if they liked you, they really liked you. If they didn't like you, they really didn't like you. You know,
you knew where you stood, right, Coach?
He's kind of a product of South Louisiana that way, and I've watched him grow, Scott. I'm so proud of him, and I'll tell you the truth. I mean this so sincerely. He's the right guy for LSU at the right time, and I know he's going to be very, very successful over the years here at LSU because he can do the things you need to do. He can recruit. He can coach. He can manage the squad. He does a great job with the alumni. So I think the future at LSU is just really, really bright.
Interesting you mentioned all those because I happen to agree with you wholeheartedly. Which of those do you think is most important? You mentioned he can recruit, he can coach, he can manage the squad, which I might think that might be it personally. And then, obviously, the fundraising, you have to be able to glad hand, as we all know.
Yes, and he can do that. He can do that very well. You know, I think one of the things, I think maybe your most important thing now in that role, one of those guys that get those jobs, is communication. And he has that art. He has that communication skill to where everybody sitting in the room in the team meetings understands what he said and where he's coming from. And I think that's imperative today with the diversity on the squad. I think it's imperative that you're a great communicator. And I think that's something Scotty really does well with.
Well, I know you also coached under Saban at LSU. You had Orange Barger, one of the greatest, I think, of all time. Obviously, Jerry Stovall, Mike Archer.
Yeah.
But before I run out of time, because I'm bringing you back in person when you're done coaching, and I know you're training some guys to the Senior Bowl, but I got to bring up two of my favorite players. And this was early in your stint at LSU, Leonard Marshall and Henry Thomas. I'm talking not just great players at LSU and the SEC, but these were two of the greatest all-time pros at their positions.
They were absolutely great players and great guys to coach. Still close with both of them. I'm so proud of what they accomplished, and one of the things that really makes me proud of them is they haven't changed a bit. They're still the same guys, and all that notoriety and money, of course, and all that they're still just really good guys and good people, and both of them really have a love for LSU.
Any memories of your time with Saban that stand out?
Yeah, I love Coach Saban. Coach Saban has a reputation, of being tough to work for and things like that. I never found it that way. I think he's tough to work for if you don't do your job.
Yeah.
And he's very demanding, of course, on his staff, but he's also very demanding of himself. But I'm a big fan of his, and since I worked for him the years past, he's been very good to me and my family. And I really think he's great. I really do. I think he's one of the best that ever coached the game. And I respect Coach Saban a great deal.
Before I run out of time, Marquise Hill and Marcus Spears, Chad Lavallee, early 2000s. Recently, Arden Key, we know he's going to be a high draft pick. Rashard Lawrence. Talk a little bit about these guys and what it's like to coach these great players.
Well, I don't know that they were great players. They grew into great players through hard work and dedication and things like that. But I don't know, Leonard let's just say Leonard and Henry.
Yeah, that's
one
another
of them
level.
Really highly recruited guys.
Yeah,
as we think of highly recruited guys today, but through hard work, and dedication to what they were doing, I really think, Scott, they became players. They worked themselves into that, and you always appreciate that so much. I think Lawrence falls in that same category. He's just done a really, really good job. Now, Arden has really big-time talent, and not that he hadn't worked hard. I think he's probably the guy that came in with the most talent of any of those guys you're talking about. And he's developed it alongside those guys. But he was a gifted athlete. The others were big kids and with potential, you know.
Yeah.
And they have just they've made themselves into outstanding football players.
Pete, well, you're an outstanding coach and an outstanding human being, and I can't wait to have you live. I know you're going to coach the LSU through the bowl season. Then you're going to coach some players, get them ready for the Senior Bowl and Combine. But when you come back in like February or March, you promise to come on Primetime Sports Live?
Right, absolutely. And just I might tell you this: the guy that I work for in Orlando is an old guy that he was in New Orleans for years. Tom Shaw.
Tom Shaw, yep.
That's who he has the facility, and he, as you know, he's probably the most highly regarded guy around in teaching speed and things like that. So I work at his facility for 2 months, and I'm really looking forward to it. And I get some really fine players and some really fine young men that come down there to work with me, and it's always enjoyable.
Coach, I appreciate you so much. Enjoy your time finishing out coaching, and I can't wait to see you in a few months.
Good, Scott. Thanks a lot, buddy.
All right, that is Pete Jenkins. I had to give him a tribute. He is one of the greatest of all time. One guy that knows him well is coming up later in the show. His name's Tim Rebowe. I can't wait for that. And later in the show, one of the most successful high school coaches in the game, Ryan Manale. But next, I'm going to switch gears to basketball for a second. I have Lou Shuman. He's been in the NBA business for about 50 years, literally 30 very deep into it, and he's been here since the Hornets/Pelicans came. He's going to tell you a little bit about the background stuff that goes on in the NBA because this guy knows it and he knows it well. Hey, stay tuned. We're coming back on Primetime Sports. Welcome back to Primetime Sports. Always love to hear from Big Sam's Funky Nation. Hey, we're going to take a brief respite from football. I got a couple more football guests, but you know I love basketball, so I had to bring a guy in that probably knows more basketball than all of us combined. His name is Lou Shuman. He's been around the NBA game for over 30 years. I got to know him a little bit back in the mid-'90s when he was working in Charlotte, but he came from Charlotte over to New Orleans when the Hornets came and has stayed ever since. He's been with the Boston Celtics for years, with the Sixers. He's been around this game for a long time, even had that little respite when he went to OKC with the team. And here he is for the first time, and an accomplished author as well.
Yep.
Welcome, Lou Shuman. How are you, my
It's
friend?
great to be here. It's finally took us a little while, but
I had to get the number right.
It's nice to be here. Right?
I'm sitting there texting your office number.
I'm sitting here with in the company of greatness.
This basketball has a lot of nice names on it. Karl Malone.
Yeah.
But Lou, first of all, you've been around this game. I mean, you with the Celtics, and to me, the greatest team of all time. I love that '86 team. But talk about how you got into the business at first.
It was the typical, I was walking down the street and a guy said, "Hey kid, you want to be in broadcasting?"
Really?
No, seriously. I was 18 years old, out of high school, and I went to a television station that was signing on the air, and I entered as an entry-level stage manager, and as they say, the rest
is history, right?
Yeah.
Well, when you got to New Orleans, this is the one thing, because I love when people come to New Orleans and then they stay. You could go back home. You're from Boston. Mm-hmm. You could go back to Charlotte. That's a lovely place to live. What made you stay here in New Orleans? Because you've been in this business for a long time, and then now you kind of switched jobs. I mean, obviously you left. Tell people what you were doing and what you're doing now and why you stayed.
With Charlotte and Boston, I was the road producer and director. I basically traveled with the team, and I did the games. I produced and directed. Came to New Orleans, the team moved from Charlotte, and I came here as the director of broadcasting. With that responsibility, I was in charge of radio talent and television talent, as well as the product that we put together.
It's a great job. I mean, now you're doing Fox. I mean, it's a little bit of a different gig, but tell people what you're up to now with the Pels.
Well, I'm retired. I cashed it in about a year and a half ago, but still have the urge. So I'm doing tech managing, and I basically work the home games, keeps my wife happy. For 40 games, I work, and for the rest of the year, I'm having a good time. I'm writing and I'm publishing, and I'm having a good time.
I was going to say, when he said I still have the urge, I have to say this because, like myself, and him probably even more than me, he's a hoop junkie. And this is one of the books he wrote. I believe this is your first one. Yeah. I liked it so much, I bought 5 copies and put them in stocking stuffers a couple of years ago. And by the way, you should too. But talk about how you got from this side of your career to writing about it.
Well, I was sitting at home one night, and my wife said to me, hey, you have so many stories. You have so many adventures you were on. You should put them to print. And what I did, I sat down at the computer, and I basically started banging out stories. Then I started making phone calls, confirming with individuals, do you remember when we did this? Do you remember that? And I attributed the stuff to them, and as a result, got a nice little, almost autobiography with all the broadcasters, players, and coaches that I worked with over my career.
All right. I'm just thinking about the ones I have because I was Craig Sager's producer for a few years, and I traveled with the Hawks for several years, but you have probably 3 or 4 times the amount of time than me. I mean, there's a lot of stories you can't tell, right?
Oh, yes. I will take them to my grave.
That might be your bestseller, though.
Yeah, it might be after I'm gone.
Maybe wait till after all they're gone, too.
You have to remember, there's 3 places that are sacred. The airplane, the locker room, and in the hotel.
Oh, I remember all 3 of those. There's no doubt, and those are sacred places.
They are sacred.
But these books we just showed up there, you see them right here on the set, but we also put them up. They're very different genres. I mean, talk about why you would switch from what's what, and tell people what each one's kind of about. I'm curious.
Book number 1 is basically my autobiography and story, and basketball related.
Right.
Funny things that happened on the road with coaches, broadcasters, and players. My second book, 15 Days of Hell, was based on my father-in-law's diary.
Oh, wow.
He was a corpsman with the 1st MD on the invasion of the Peleliu Islands. And after he passed, we found his diary. And I took his diary, translated it, filled in around it, and as a result, published the book, 15 Days of Hell. The interesting thing about that, if you look at the cover, that was 2 clips from a Fox movie tone newsreel. I don't know, most folks can remember that.
Oh, I see. Yeah.
That picture was taken from a Fox movie tone newsreel. And the interesting thing, how we talk about what's the money shot and something, his brother, 3 months later, was sitting in a theater in Norfolk, Virginia as a Coast Guardsman watching the movie. And you all have to remember, every Saturday growing up, there would be the movie newsreels we would see in the theater before the feature. And suddenly he's looking and they're doing a review of the Battle of Peleliu, and he starts, that's my brother, that's my brother.
Wow.
They literally brought the house lights up, stopped the film, clipped 2 frames out of the movie, gave it to him, and those 2 frames, along with the original diary, lives at the World War II Museum over on Magazine Street here in New Orleans.
That's a very interesting story. I had no idea. I thought I knew a little bit more about your books than I did. The third one looks a little racy. You got the old stocking here. You got the nice high heel. What's up with this?
Okay. First of all, for the cover, I'm going to tell you an interesting story. The cover is in a Mickey Spillane style. So if anybody's ever read Mickey Spillane, the cover will not be offensive. I had one gentleman who I'm a dear friend with who was very strongly religious, called and said he objected to my cover. I said, well, I'm sorry to hear about that, but if you'd like to organize a national boycott, after I sell $2.5 million worth of it, I'll cut you a check and make you happy. But that's another story. The book basically is about basketball. It's a fictional basketball team, and it's a murder mystery. There's a murders taking place, and you go through the suspects. In my case, the average team travels with 35, 40 people.
Sure, yeah.
There's murders happening in cities other than New Orleans. And it centers around the detectives here in New Orleans, following it, figuring it out, and discovering who the murderer was. And it has a great, great ending because this fictitious team is making it to the championship. Unfortunately, it's going to be a slight little bump in the road.
A little bump? Wait, is it fictitious or is some of it real?
Oh, it's fictitious.
Oh, fictitious.
The only thing real is there are people from New Orleans who I have talked to and have given me permission to use them in the book as different characters. So that's basically where they are. But it's all fiction. It's never happened, but it could.
It could. I know one thing is real, though, and that is you've met some interesting people over the years, very interesting people, whether it be coming in for all-star breaks, celebrities, great basketball players. Kind of talk about that.
Well, first of all, a lot of the celebrities show up at the arena, and I'll tell you the truth. Anybody who sees a celebrity becomes a stalker. They want to have their picture.
Right there.
Brooke's
That's
my
one
favorite.
Of my favorites, yeah.
Exactly. We all become celebrity stalkers. If we got a camera now, hey, grab it quickly.
Right, no doubt.
Got to do it, so we all do it. In addition, so New Orleans, movie-friendly town, they're always at the arena watching the games. So on occasion, I'll sneak behind and say, hey, grab a quickie. And that's where you see the celebrity pictures.
And Wanda Sykes right there. You got lots of. What makes you love New Orleans so much?
The diversity of this city. I sometimes refer to it as the closest thing in America to the third world, in a positive manner.
In a positive way,
In a positive manner. The mix, the music. I mean, you can go to. I've traveled all over the country, as you know, and nothing compares to New Orleans with the amount of musicians we have, with the amount of
so great,
culinary people we have. It's. You know, hey, I didn't get this stomach from dieting. You know,
you knew me in Atlanta. You're proof. I was 40 pounds lighter.
And I was 40 pounds lighter when I moved to New Orleans.
Right.
But there's a vibrancy about this city like no other city in the United States.
I completely agree. So. And once you leave it, you know what it means to miss New Orleans.
You're in New Orleans.
Yeah.
Yep.
Best memories over the years. I mean, when I think of your travels on the road, maybe it's a particular team, maybe it's a game, an event. What do you think of first?
Best memory. Working the triple overtime Phoenix game in Boston that was won by Glenn McDonald.
Oh, wow.
I was working as freelancer for CBS in the bowels of the Boston Garden, clicking the score.
Oh, wow. That's great.
That was.
What year was this, Ben?
I think it was 76.
Nice. Oh, yes. Oh, yeah. I remember the. Yep. Absolutely.
I remember the 85-86 team. We would walk into a building and say, who's going to lose? And I think, we lost 10 games that season?
You only lost one at home, 40-1. That was still the best record.
And that team of Bird, McHale, Parrish, the addition of Bill Walton.
Ainge, DJ.
I mean, down the line,
I could
Scott
go
Wedman,
all 12. I could go all 12.
Jerry Seasting. I mean, that team was so loaded. And, you know, when you look at where those guys are now, they're either coaching or general managing. They're all over the league.
I got another little thing that might help you add a couple more of those pounds.
Wow, what do you got?
This is a place called Shea's Delachais. I know you know the Delachais.
Oh, yeah.
NBA players all know Delachais.
Yes,
well, this is a new place on Maple between Carrollton and Broadway. It's been a pleasure.
That's going to be an after-game stop, definitely.
After-game stop, for sure.
Thank you very much.
Bring your wife. Hey, by the way, I have been out with Lou, and the man knows how to dine and does it well. Hey, we got to call him the mailman Malone on this one. I'll put Lou right there with him. Lots of players. Alvin Gentry, Del Demps, they've all been around.
Well, I'm going to join the club.
Join the club. Lou Shuman is one of the legends in our business, period, bar none. And I've had the pleasure of knowing him peripherally for about 30 years, 25 years about, and then getting to know him a lot better since I moved home to New Orleans. But it's been great having him, and you'll be a friend for life. Lou Shuman, I appreciate you coming on the show. Check his books out. Real quick, one last thing. Tell people how to get that book.
Amazon.com.
Yeah.
Just put my name in, LEWSHUMAN.
All right, I'm getting the other two. I don't have those yet, but I can vouch for Hoop Junkie. It's a great book. Great book. It's Christmas time, stocking stuffer.
Absolutely.
Perfect. Check that out. Hey, coming up next, this guy's a miracle worker. I can't believe what he's already done. Tim Rebowe. 6 wins Nichols had in the previous 4 years before he got there. Oh, by the way, he has 8 wins this year alone, and he went to the playoffs and played a heartbreaking game. They did lose this 2 weeks ago, but they came out great, and I can't wait to talk to him. He's coming up next. And don't forget the LHSAA high school finals are this weekend. That's right, they're in the Dome. And we have one of the coaches from a team that's been undefeated in the regular season for the last 2 years. We'll be right back on Primetime Sports.
The owners of the Delachais Wine Bar on St. Charles Avenue have opened up their newest creation uptown on Maple Street called Chez Delachais, a new local wine bistro featuring a larger menu of small and large plates, a brighter atmosphere, and full table service. Additionally, patrons can enjoy a large patio out front as well as an extensive wine list offering selections from around the world. It's Chez Delachais, 7708 Maple Street between Carrollton and Broadway.
Rock and roll will never die. It's old New Orleans, my, oh my. Come on, baby, let's go rock and roll at the city lane. All night, let's roll, let's rock and roll. Baby, do the rock and roll. At Mid-City Lane's the home of rock and roll.
Although our name is Lucy's Retired Surfers Bar and Restaurant, there's nothing tired or retired about anything we do. Meet Me at Lucy's has been our slogan and battle cry for nearly 3 decades in New Orleans. Located in the heart of the Warehouse District, Lucy's has truly been the destination spot for nearly every occasion. Whether it's happy hour after work, before and after Saints and Pelicans games, or just a delicious bite to eat at all hours, Lucy's is the perfect place to meet up, hang out, and unwind for a great time. And while you're there, you should try one of our signature surfing cocktails, like the Shark Attack or Blue Whale. And for the truly courageous, our famous Scorpion Tequila Shot. Remember, Meet Me at Lucy's is our slogan, but don't forget to bring your favorite pooch, because our lifeguard chair is always open. Welcome back to Primetime Sports. Some segments you get a little more excited than others. And I had my next guest on probably about 11 months ago when the season ended. He was the head coach of Nichols then, and he's still the head coach of Nichols. And I got to say this, I don't want to beat the dead horse because I said earlier, but the team he took over had won 6 games in 4 years. Let that resonate for a second. 6 games in 4 years. Well, he took it over. They won 3 the first year, 5 the next year, and how about this, 8-3 regular season. Went to the playoffs for the first time since 2005. First time they've ever hosted, and only the 4th time they've ever been in the playoffs. I think success is happening right now. His name is Tim Rebowe. He is the coach of Nichols, and he's one of the great guys in the business. Welcome back to the show.
Hey, thanks for having me. It's a pleasure.
We talked real quick. CJ, Curtis Johnson was on when you were here last time, and he was coaching the Bears, and all of a sudden a week later, he's back with the New Orleans Saints. And now you seem to be friends with everybody in the business.
Well, Pete Jenkins, a guy who just retired, special friends. I'm so happy Fad Ogeron, what he's doing at LSU and those guys, but it's such a fraternity in this business,
yes, it is.
The coaching business, and if you treat people the right way, people appreciate that way down the road.
Coach, are you surprised at all that the successes come so quick?
Well, I thought we had the right pieces in place, and things just started falling. After the first season, 3-8, we knew we were doing things the right way. And look, you talk about people business, but it's getting a couple of recruits in.
Yeah,
and
I
know we're going to talk about some of the players that we have already,
right.
But you get a couple of the right pieces in there, and it doesn't take long to win a couple football games.
Well, one of those right pieces, let's get right to it.
Yeah.
I mean, Chase Forcade's a winner. He played for Jay Roth at Rummel. And when I heard he was going to Nichols, I'm like, wow, whoever's recruiting this dude is doing a good job.
Right.
And look what he's done for this program.
Well, Lee Roussel is a guy who had coached at Rummel, and he got in and started recruiting him. And look, Jace is a fantastic, what a winner he is.
Yes,
and he's
he is.
such a competitor. And we knew that going in, and we had to battle some people down to right at the end to get him to come to Nichols, but he knew he wanted to make an impact. He wanted to play. He wanted to be the leader of that team, and he has done that for us. He's just what a competitor he is.
Well, he's not scared. I remember the game against Georgia when he was a freshman. True freshman, goes in between the hedges. I lived down the road for 20 years, so I know Georgia and how crazy that atmosphere can get. They had the #1 recruit in the country, Jacob Eason. This guy, Chase Forcade, outplayed him. That's when I knew you were onto something.
Well, we joke about it today. The first pass he ever threw in the game was an interception, his first college pass. But boy, he stepped up in the second half and really competed.
You were winning the game.
Yeah, we had tied it up, and
Yeah.
we took the lead in the fourth quarter and had a shot to stop him. But I think that game kind of set the tempo for us, and that we were going to have a chance. We had a good football team. The thing is about Chase, though, after that year, he went to the Manning camp,
right.
and they really, really loved him there, and he got to be a counselor, and he was around all the great quarterbacks in the country. And I really, really think that he progressed tremendously this year.
He's only a sophomore.
Right.
I mean, he's just got 2 more years. The guy can play. What has he meant for the rest of your recruiting?
Well, you get a guy like him, and you get a guy like Sully Lesh and Evan Veron. You get a couple guys local up and down the river, and they start recruiting for you. You know what I mean? They say, hey, guys can come in here, they can play early, they can make a difference. And look, I got receivers, and guys will say, hey, I want to play with Chase Forcade. I want to play with this guy, Sully Lesh. I want to do that. So when you get some good local players in there, they recruit themselves. It's
kind of fun, though, isn't it? Are you having fun right now?
Yeah,
Talk about it.
It's a blast. You know what? We talked to the team a lot about building, about changing the culture in Thibodaux. It had been down. The year before we got there was 0-12. And we said, hey, we want to make a difference. We want to do some things. And I always told the players this: if you put a good product on the field, the people will come. And boy, the people of Thibodaux was tremendous this year.
They're passionate,
and, yes,
man. I went to a game earlier in the year. They are passionate down there.
We packed the stadium, and the tailgating is as good as ever, as anybody around. And I tell you what, they're having some fun in Thibodaux and the Homer and the surrounding areas, and that's what it's all about.
You work at UL. Talk about that stop there under Coach Hudspeth. There you are right there, New Orleans Bowl. Seems like y'all win the New Orleans Bowl every year and winning it for the most part. But talk about how that prepared you to be the head coach at Nichols.
Well, I was in Lafayette for 11 years.
Yeah.
Ricky Bustle brought me in there, and I was with him. And then there was the coaching change, and Hudspeth came in. And it's funny how you talk about, we spoke earlier in the segment, but I worked with Mark Hudspeth at Nichols in 1995.
Wow.
So we were on the same
It is
staff.
a small
we knew each other, and then I had some recruiting ties in Louisiana. So I was very, very fortunate that he kept me on the staff. And I had applied for the Nichols job that year also, and I didn't get it.
Sure.
So it was kind of funny how, so HUD kept me, and we go to 4 straight bowl games. But just the things that I learned about him, about motivation and how to prepare a team, and maybe I wouldn't have had that if I had taken the job a year earlier.
How do you go about it? I have to ask you, this is a generic question about recruiting in general. You got a great personality, I know, when you get into a house, but it's not always easy to get into the house. You know, I was an agent. I know it's
Right.
Once you get in, you can sell yourself. But getting in, how do you manage that? Because you're going against, obviously, big programs. UL is one of them. LSU. Tulane is coming on.
Yeah.
Willie Fritz
Willie
is a
Fritz, outstanding
great
job.
coach.
Yes.
But
Yeah.
how do you go about selling
Well,
Nichols?
I think it's all about relationships.
Yeah.
And I like to think that it goes back to the relationships I had as a high school coach with a lot of these guys that I worked with some of them, and then you stayed friends with them. And then I hired some high school coaches. You know, the guys need to get a start, and we got them to start in Thibodaux, Louisiana. Anthony Camp, who's from Baton Rouge, and Lee Roussel is another one from right there. And I got Brock Hayes out the city of New Orleans. So you get some of those guys, and they form the relationships also with the players at an early age. You know this, recruiting is starting so early now.
Yes, it is.
You got to get them in 9th and 10th grade, and you start building these relationships, and these guys remember that. But I think the main thing is you just got to be true to who you are. You know, you can't be somebody that you're not, and we tell the people all this. We have a hidden gem in Thibodaux, Louisiana, and we have people when they come in to visit, they go, hey, I didn't know you had all this here. So we got good things working. We're starting to win some ball games, and we need to continue it.
There's great football. I mentioned some of the schools, but the Southland Conference, I got to give y'all a plug. Ron Roberts at Southeastern,
Yes.
Great coach.
Yeah.
You got McNeese, who's become a power over there. I know there's some Sunbelt schools in ULM. I think Northwestern's in the Southlands as well.
Yeah.
So you got a lot of competition, but talk about how the conference has helped.
Well, you know, over the last couple of years, you got Sam Houston, who's been playing for making it to the Final Four. Central Arkansas was ranked in the top 5 this year. They won our conference, went 9-0. So we have some good teams, and I think the top 5 was us and McNeese and Southeastern and those 2 guys, and that's how it played out at the end. But every week you got to bring your A game in this conference. A lot of good football.
Well, the reason I know it because y'all always compete with the big boys. I mean, you went to A&M and we're tied. I mean, this is Texas A&M. They have the best facilities just about in the country, and I'm like, look at Nichols. I mean, I'm on the road a lot, and I'm sitting there doing games myself, and I'm like, look at Nichols, man. I'm proud. South Louisiana representing.
Yeah, and that's what it's about. But I think when you get in those type of games and where you get worn down a little bit is in the trenches. That's last year with
Kirby Smart
at Georgia. But I thought we had a chance because we're good on the offensive line and the defensive lines.
Yeah.
And if you can rotate some guys in and out of there, which we can do, we didn't have a big drop-off in that area, and then you can play with some of the guys. But look, we believe in our philosophy is we got to be able to stop the run on defense, and you got to be able to run the football. And if you can do those things, then you have a chance. And we did that against those big teams.
By the way, you're about Kirby's age. I mean, he might be a couple years younger, but do you remember what he told you? Because he's coming off of coaching with Saban for years at Alabama, doing great things. When y'all shook hands at the end of that game, do you remember what he told you?
Yeah, it wasn't nothing. It was just, hey, congratulations, you got a good ball club. And then me and him talked later in that week after that. But after the game, it's something real quick. It's just getting off the field and telling him, wishing him luck, and if we can help anybody down the way, that was it.
I would have no hesitation sending my son to play for, because you said it's about relationships. I got like 30 seconds. How would you give a spiel to a guy that you want to come play for you?
Well, when you come to visit us and you come to see us, what you see is what you get. We're for real. We're not fake. All of our coaches, we got a staff that cares about you as an individual and as a person, about life outside of football, and we try to help you become the total person, and we want you to go on and be productive citizens, and that's what we live and do. We have a set of core values that we go by, and we try to teach that every day.
Coach, it's evident. I appreciate you so much. And listen, man, you've made this place a sexy place to go. By the way, I had the new museum, World War II museum president and CEO is a Nichols guy.
He's Nichols, yeah. He was there when I was there before.
And he's from Scotland, which is the craziest thing. He ran track. Anyway, that is Tim Rebowe. Thank you so much,
Hey,
Coach.
thanks for having me, man. Anytime.
Yeah, what a great guy. Hey, you got a kid that's considering a school? He might not be great enough to go to LSU. Nichols is a good choice. Hey, we're not done yet. I've got another school coach. His name is Ryan Manale. Coming up next on Primetime Sports.
I hear the train a-comin', it's rollin' round the bend, and I ain't seen the sunshine since I don't know when. I'm stuck in Folsom Prison, and time keeps dragging on. But that train, it keeps a-rollin' on down to San Antone. When I was just a baby, my mama told me.
Welcome back to Primetime Sports. Hey, I want to thank Tim Rebowe. That was awesome. My man from Nichols has done such a fabulous job. But speaking of fabulous jobs, hey, it's been my tradition here after the state championships to bring coaches on. You know, I do it every year. Last year we had Keaton Thompson, the great quarterback from Landry Walker, and his coach, Emmanuel Powell. We had Carr's coach and their quarterback as well. We do it every year, and we're going to do it again next week, I'm sure. But I want to do something different. I want to preview perhaps the best game in the championship this weekend, and that's not me saying that. That is all the coaches I've talked to around the city and state. It's De La Salle, and it is U-High. Two great teams, and these might just be the two best teams in the entire state, all classifications. I'm not saying they are, but they might be. And that game is 3:30 on Friday, so I decided to bring in the head coach for De La Salle, one of the only coaches in the history of Louisiana that's gone undefeated in 2 straight regular seasons. That's remarkable, especially considering where he came from. This is his 6th season there, right? They only had 28 players in the program back in 2012. They still managed a winning record at 5-4. Went 6-4 the next year, jumped up to 8-2, then 9-1, and now back-to-back 10-0s. This is a remarkable story. The head coach, his name is Ryan Manale. He is a Rummel grad. He coached at Rummel, played at Rummel, coached under Jay Roth. A great tradition there, and he's brought it down to the Avenue. Welcome to the show. It's been a long time coming. How are you, my friend?
I'm doing great. What an honor to be here with you.
I mean, it's an honor for me. I mean, listen, man, 2 straight undefeated seasons with the team that had 28 players just a few years earlier. How the heck do you manage that?
It's been unbelievable. When I took the job, I was told it was a hidden gem. And I've been told that from different media personnel, alums.
Was that Tony Benura telling you to say it?
Actually, he was.
I love
the
Tony.
first
You
thing
know I
Tony.
love Tony.
The first time Tony came to me, my answer was no.
Right.
And then I had some good role models, people you see on TV a lot, alums that I didn't even realize were De La Salle alums. Were just telling me, I guess Tony did his work too. Tony's a good recruiter himself.
He got him
So he
calling
probably
you,
made some calls and people called me.
Right.
And I remember Duke Roos telling me, just go ahead. I went and lunch at Mr. Ed's with Ed Daniels and Duke and a few other. Ken Trahan was involved, and everybody just go take a tour. So I went and took a tour and fell in love with it, and never looked back. And it's the best decision I made in my life so far.
Wow, Ed and Ken, 2 Rummel guys promoting. I know they're both in the Hall of Fame though, good guys and guys that I respect as well. Hey, I mean. But you came in, you already had a successful program. Jay Roth, who's been on my show, one of the greatest coaches, I think, in Louisiana high school history. That had to be a hard decision to leave him.
Well, it was. I was with him. I was with Rummel, my alma mater, for 13 years. Right. And I was actually leaving to go with Guy LeCompte as the offense coordinator at Mandeville and made that move. And it was a 2-month window before I took the head coaching job at De La Salle. And it was just something I thought it was time. I thought it was time for me.
So you were with the Skippers for a couple months?
For a couple months. Went there right before spring.
And you actually you never coached a game? You were just there and you were going to be the assistant coach there or head coach?
Offense coordinator under Guy LeCompte, assistant coach. And was there for just right leading up to spring and left and made the right decision by going to 5300 Avenue and it's been great.
Hey, let's talk about this game. John David McKernan is the quarterback for U-High. He's a junior. He's special. But they have a full team of special players, don't they?
Oh, no doubt.
I mean,
they're tremendous. It's the best team we've played this year. We played Carr this year. We played Riverside this year. We played some great
You
football
blew out
teams.
St. Aug at Ullman Stadium. I couldn't believe that. And but it's a murderer's row, the schedule, which sets you up for this. But you mentioned Carr, you mentioned Riverside Academy, but that's not all. You had a couple other big ones in there too.
Absolutely. We played St. Aug. We played St. Charles Catholic. We had some big Donaldsonville, plenty of talent. Then St. Thomas More, just in the semifinals.
Yeah.
Great programs. And hopefully it has us prepared for this moment. U High is just phenomenal athletes. The best junior class I've ever seen. They're going to go 6 deep with SEC-type players. And we're looking forward to it.
I'm calling that game on WWL Radio, 870 AM. That's a little plug for them, only because I want people to listen. If you can't be in the Dome, listen. It's at 3:30 on Friday. But I'm calling it with a couple coaches, and one of them happens to be Nelson Stewart, the coach at Newman, who just got eliminated in his semifinal game. But a great coach, played at Tulane, great guy. He told me, 2014, I happened to be calling y'all's jamboree for the Cox Sport Game of the Week, and he said, this De La Salle team, you check them out in 2 or 3 years, they're going to be sick. And here we are 2 or 3 years later, and he's a prophet.
Yeah, no doubt. He's going to be able to call it. And the last time he seen De La Salle was in that jamboree there. It was a great jamboree to go to, and what a great little venue we had. And in his words, we kind of outgrew it, and it's going to be good. I'm glad you have the call.
Yeah, it's going to be fun. As far as this team, though, you got a lot of D1 players. And I know at De La Salle, I'm just saying for history-wise, they've had a lot of great athletes that go play college, but very few in football, at least back in the 80s and 70s. I know you had Marquise Hill, who was big about 15 years ago. But talk about some of the talents. Let's start with that quarterback, Julian Gums, because this might be the MVP in the state.
Nah, Julian Gums is the most underrated kid. And I can't even start off by talking about X and O's in football. I'm talking about in the classroom, you won't find a teacher in all his years at De La Salle that's going to tell you anything negative about Julian Gums. His character in the classroom, his character in the community. He's a mentor. He's one of them guys, when I first had him freshman, sophomore, junior, Coach, I'm not sure if I can make workouts. I'm going to Xavier Prep to take, prepare college courses, like freshman, sophomore year.
As a coach, what do you say to that?
Well, it drew me back because you don't hear that much. Here's a quarterback football player that's passionate about school and passionate about the community, and he's one of the best kids I've ever been around. And kudos to him. And Kenneth Polite's a big mentor in his life, and just a
former
great
U.S. District Attorney.
And that's who Julian calls up daily to talk to.
Wow,
And,
that's impressive. Kenneth Polite is one of the most impressive men I've ever been around.
Yep.
Hey, one of my favorite players on the team is going to this place right here, the Tulane Green Wave, Jamyron James. He's a twin. That's another one. Nelson Stewart said, wait till you see these guys. And they were just freshmen back then. He's going to play at Tulane on the defensive line. His twin brother Jeremiah is going to Nichols at this moment to play offensive line.
Right.
Talk about what these twins have meant, because they've been around for you. They must seem like they've been around since the Bush administration.
No, there's a good bit of these seniors that I look at them as my sons. I give them real love, just like all my players. Sometimes that's tough, sometimes it's nice, but he is a special player, and I'm so happy for Coach Fritz and staff, because I think he does a phenomenal job. And him allowing me to watch a little of their practice and meetings, tremendous job they do, and they're getting a very good football player with a motor and just a great kid that's going to excel at Tulane academically as well.
Well, we just had the head coach of Nichols on, and my goodness, what a great job Tim Rebowe's done. I mean, listen, like I said, 6 wins in 4 total years. He's already 3 years in, and he's got 8 wins this year. Went to the playoffs, but it's becoming a tiny little bit of a pipeline there. Chase Forcade, the quarterback from Rummel, is doing great things for them, but De La Salle's bringing some folks over.
No doubt. Every year we've had somebody sign with Nichols since Coach Rebowe's era began, and I think I have the utmost respect for him as a person, because I know he's going to take care of these kids, and I look for that more importantly than just the X and O's, is somebody that's going to really watch over the student athlete and help develop them into leaders, and he's one of them guys that does that. So I couldn't be prouder to have guys and keep that pipeline when there's not many schools knocking, and I talk to him about players, and you can see what he's doing.
You got a couple more weapons on offense we hadn't talked about. Obviously, Aaron Marquez is a big one, and Kendall Collins at running back. He's got both he and Gums are well over 1,000 yards rushing.
No doubt. Kendall Collins is a junior, and you'll see in spring his name's going to pop off all over. The only thing stopping him is a little height. His balance is tremendous.
Running backs don't need height.
Yeah.
I mean, seriously, some of the greatest don't have height at all.
Well, I wish you could tell everybody that on some of the recruiters, but no, he is. His balance is tremendous. His feet is tremendous, and once again, just a great kid. That's why we built this program on character, and he's a phenomenal young man.
What's his style running? I'm just curious because I haven't seen a whole lot of him.
He's a dual threat guy. He can come out the backfield and run and catch the football, as well as pass protect, and then also get in between the tackles.
But
so
he looks like he's got strength right there.
He does.
Hey, man, has anybody ever stood next to Dalton Hilliard or Barry Sanders or Mark Ingram for that matter?
Right.
Not a lot of height right there, I can tell you that.
No, I really firmly believe we have two of the best running backs in the state, and that's Julian Gums playing quarterback for us, and Kendall Collins.
And he's going to play running back at Nichols along with 4K quarterback, and that's going to be nice. And then another guy that we have mentioned, you great safety.
Absolutely. Lance Robinson, he's a Kansas State commit right now. Everybody's on him, and, the transformation that he made from
Kansas State's
freshman.
a big-time program.
Oh, yeah.
That's huge,
man.
Yeah.
But it is. It's great for him, and what a great kid and family. And, the transformation from him from freshman year to senior year is why I'm in this business.
All right, sell this game real quick. It's U-High, De La Salle. Like I said, coaches across the state have said this is the premier game, 3:30 on Friday afternoon, just in 3 days from now.
Yep.
Tell people why they should come.
Well, first of all, one of the best young coaches in the game, Coach Mahaffey, coaches U-High.
Yes, he does.
They have 6 SEC-type players. If you go to the national rankings in this state of Louisiana, you have U-High's number 1, currently West Monroe number 2, and De La Salle number 3.
Wow.
So you're going to see plenty of talent. You're going to see two real good football teams going at it on next.
Yeah, don't they have the kid that's at Alabama right now, Dylan Moses? I mean,
well, the starting running back for these guys, Hollins, is the one that put Moses to linebacker. So just to tell you how good he is as a running back.
And by the way, I saw Moses making some plays this year as a true freshman at Alabama. That's saying a lot.
Right.
Ryan, it's been a pleasure.
Absolutely.
And we're going to have a lot of your coaching brethren on next week.
Yeah.
And, no offense, Mr. Happy, but I have to say, Coach Mahaffey, if you win, you're on this show. But I'm sure Ryan doesn't want you on the show. All right, so I got to thank Ryan. Got to thank everybody. What a great show. Lou Shuman had a little basketball break with one of the legends in the TV business of basketball. And, of course, Tim Rebowe. How great was that? And, obviously, one of the greatest legends of all time, certainly if you're in the business, a defensive line coach, Pete Jenkins. It doesn't get any better than this. Hey, come join me next week on Primetime Sports. Thank you very much. Hey, I want to thank Will Hill. I want to thank Pete Jordan. I also want to thank all the people that work at WLE and CSC, of course, the Redhead Tsunami, and everybody else that helped with the show, and including our new guy, Alex. I appreciate you. We'll see you again next week.